I'm excited to talk today about a feminist approach to nervous system regulation. It's a big part of my coaching work and my research, working with empathetic, self-differentiated women leaders who are really trying to keep themselves intact amid often toxic and oppressive work environments or family systems where they feel that they are being sort of drawn in and forced to still be enmeshed within systems that are really unhealthy. So learning how to sort of distinguish themselves from, remove oneself, or separate oneself from those dynamics in order to have a really healthy and stable experience, either professionally or personally. So nervous system regulation is something that is based in the work of Stephen Porges, known as polyvagal theory. It's the ability to be able to move from the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode of survival to rest, digest, and reflect. This is known as moving from the sympathetic system to the parasympathetic system, in which your body is able to respond as opposed to react. And a lot of this work is being moved forward in spaces of trauma-informed recovery, trauma therapy, particularly for women who have experienced trauma in their bodies, in which they are needing to metabolize those experiences in order to heal and move forward with their lives. Using somatic techniques to be able to center and regulate one's nervous system is incredibly important, and it's part of the work that I do with my clients. What I want to talk about today is a feminist approach to nervous system regulation, or what's known as polyvagal theory, moving from that fight or flight, freeze, fawn to rest, digest, and reflect. There's a way in which I find a lot of my clients initially trying to promote nervous system regulation, which in some ways actually sets them back a little bit in this work, because there's a misnomer that nervous system regulation means to be stoic or to have sort of thick skin in the face of stress and toxic relational dynamics, to be able to have more grit, to be able to sort of power through or bounce back more easily. And unfortunately, what this does is it overrides experiences of psychological abuse or anxiety and causes the woman herself to absorb that anxiety within a system, rather than really separating herself or parsing herself away from and removed from that anxious or toxic system. So it's not about being stoic. It's not about sort of saying, I'm going to toughen up and get through this. That's in some ways what the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn element of stress is about, is sort of trying to muscle through stress. And that's not what nervous system regulation is about. And unfortunately, culturally, women are expected to act in ways in which they absorb anxiety within a system and basically ignore these signs within their bodies to pause, to step away, to reflect, to digest. Within patriarchal culture, whether in workplaces, religious systems, or family of origin systems, there's oftentimes an unspoken or directly spoken expectation that women, in their expectation to serve others' needs and fulfill others' needs, sort of this human giver syndrome that I talk about a lot in my work, causes women to absorb these anxieties. And when they don't absorb the system dysfunction, they are then called out and seen as snarky, prickly, bitchy, whatever it is, because they have said to themselves, I'm no longer tolerating this. So there is this narrative that really does not want women to have regulated nervous systems in which they are grounded in their ability to respond, remove themselves from unhealthy dynamics, call out others and make them accountable for behavior that's inappropriate or toxic. There is a narrative that really wants women to remain enmeshed in unhealthy dynamics in order to fulfill the needs of sort of larger patriarchal narratives. So a feminist approach to nervous system regulation is understanding that when women are grounded in their bodies through the somatic work of really dialing in and seeing how one can respond to situations rather than react, rather than freeze or fight or flight or fawn, all of these approaches. And so one of the important things that women can do is to acknowledge that there will be pushback when women are exercising this ability to regulate their nervous system in times of stress, there are people, particularly within toxic relational systems, that will want to suck that woman back into a mode of people-pleasing, of being the human giver, of constantly having to sort of run around and fulfill others' physical, material, spiritual, emotional needs. And so a woman who resists that, who is actually extremely self-differentiated, manages boundaries in a really healthy way. These are also acts of nervous system regulation. In unhealthy systems will receive pushback. And in some cases, this can lead to such extreme behaviors as targeting, bullying, scapegoating. And for women who are trying to enact a really healthy way of being with and among people, this can feel like the efforts that they're putting into being a self-differentiated individual are really difficult. And so what I encourage my clients to do is to exercise a lot of self-discipline and awareness when exercising this approach to nervous system regulation, of differentiating oneself from the unhealthy system, of resisting absorption of the stress and anxiety within that system, of being able to set boundaries, even within contexts where those boundaries are rejected, and in some ways anticipating the pushback, what I call boundary backlash, and not necessarily allowing that backlash to reduce those efforts of self-differentiation. So as I move further into my work with women who are empathetic women, who are focusing on their psychological safety within toxic workplace and personal environments, understanding this nuance to nervous system regulation is really important, that there are spaces in which a grounded woman within her body who exercises nervous system regulation is oftentimes seen as a threat and destabilizing presence within contexts that want her to be enmeshed and fulfilling others' needs in ways that are unhealthy, unsustainable, and often abusive. So I look forward to talking more with those who are interested about this and helping those women who really want to engage in concrete actions around this kind of nervous system regulation, while also understanding there are certain contexts that really push back and resist this and how to respond to that kind of feedback. Well, thanks for listening. I look forward to talking with you more. Bye-bye.